Before World War I, before Napoleon, before even the American Revolution, there was another war, a war that reshaped the world. It started as a small colonial dispute in the dense forests of North America, a battle over fur trade, territory, and power. But what began as a local struggle between Britain and France quickly spiraled into something far greater. Soon, armies clashed across 5 continents. Battles raged in Europe, the Caribbean, Africa, India, and even the Pacific. Nearly every major European power was drawn into the fight. By the time it ended, millions had been affected, entire empires had shifted, and the balance of power had changed forever. This was the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, Britain's first true global conflict and the war that set the stage for the modern world. But how did it happen? Let's find out. The 7 Years' War may have been global, but it all started with one spark in North America. In the mid-1700s, Britain and France were locked in a fierce rivalry over trade, land, and influence. One of the most contested regions was the Ohio River Valley, a vast stretch of land rich in resources and key to controlling North America. Both Britain and France claimed the territory, and tensions boiled over in 1754 when a young British officer named George Washington led an attack on a small French force at Jumonville Glen. Washington's men killed the French commander, sparking an international crisis. The French retaliated by defeating Washington at Fort Necessity, forcing his surrender. This skirmish in the wilderness ignited a war that spread like wildfire. Britain and France rushed reinforcements to the colonies, and soon what had started as a border dispute in North America escalated into a full-scale conflict. As battles raged along the frontier, both European powers formed alliances with indigenous nations, turning the war into an even more complex struggle for control. The British allied with the Iroquois Confederacy, while the French gained the support of the Algonquin and Huron. By 1756, Britain and France officially declared war, and their allies joined the fight. What had started in the forests of North America was now a war across the world. What had begun as a frontier war in North America quickly exploded into a worldwide conflict. By 1756, Britain and France were officially at war, and their European allies were drawn in. This wasn't just a struggle for land. It was a battle for global dominance. In Europe, Britain and Prussia faced off against France, Austria, and Russia. The war in Europe became a brutal fight for control of the continent, with Frederick the Great of Prussia waging desperate battles to keep his kingdom from destruction. In North America, the war became known as the French and Indian War. British forces, alongside American colonists and Iroquois allies, fought against French troops and their indigenous allies. The French dominated the early years of the war, using guerrilla tactics and ambushes to humiliate British armies. In the Caribbean, Britain and France clashed over sugar-rich islands, launching naval battles and brutal land invasions to control the lucrative trade. In Africa, fighting erupted over key slave trade posts and fortresses. In India, Britain's East India Company battled French-backed Indian states, with the fate of the subcontinent hanging in the balance. This was no longer just a war, it was the first true global conflict. By 1757, Britain was losing the war. French forces dominated in North America, raiding British settlements and humiliating British armies in battle. In India, the French-backed Bengal forces had overrun British trading posts. In Europe, Prussia was struggling against France, Austria, and Russia. Defeat seemed inevitable. Then everything changed. In 1757, William Pitt became Britain's new prime minister. He had one goal: total victory. Pitt dramatically increased war spending, pouring money into Prussia's armies to keep France distracted in Europe. He focused Britain's naval power, using the Royal Navy to blockade French ports, cut off their supplies, and dominate the seas. In North America, he sent more troops, better generals, and fresh strategies. Britain began recapturing lost territory. The British took Louisbourg, a critical French stronghold, opening the path to Quebec. In 1759, Britain launched a daring attack on Quebec. Under General James Wolfe, British forces scaled the cliffs at night and defeated the French on the Plains of Abraham, securing Canada. At sea, the Royal Navy crushed the French fleet, ensuring Britain's control over trade routes. In India, Robert Clive's victory at Plassey, 1757, gave Britain dominance over Bengal, setting the stage for British rule over India. By 1760, the tide had turned. Britain was now winning the war, and an empire was rising. By 1763, the war had raged for 7 years, devastating battlefields from North America to India. But with France losing territory on all fronts, they had no choice but to negotiate peace. The Treaty of Paris, 1763, officially ended the war, and it redrew the map of the world. Britain emerged as the world's dominant empire. France ceded Canada and most of its land in North America to Britain. India fell under British influence, paving the way for the British Raj. In the Caribbean, Britain gained key sugar islands, boosting its wealth. Spain, France's ally, lost Florida to Britain but gained Louisiana as compensation. But victory came at a cost. Britain's war debt led to higher taxes on the American colonies, fueling resentment. Within a decade, this would ignite the American Revolution. The 7 Years' War was over, but its consequences were only just beginning. The 7 Years' War was more than just a conflict. It was a turning point in world history. Britain emerged as the dominant global power, but its victory came at a cost. The war's massive debt led to higher taxes on the American colonies, fueling the revolution that would create the United States. Meanwhile, France's defeat weakened its monarchy, setting the stage for the French Revolution. Was this truly the First World War, or was it just the beginning of something even bigger? Let us know in the comments, and if you love epic war stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell.